Welcome back. In the last several days, 3 refugee camps in Gaza have been hit by Israeli airstrikes. And over 600,000 Palestinians live in these camps. But Israel's determination to root out Hamas, root and stem, is turning these camps now into the latest battlefronts. Joining us now is NBC's Molly Hunter. Molly, give us a look at the conditions and walk us through the history of these refugee camps.
Yeah, Anna, I think when we talk about refugee camps, and we've been talking about some of these refugee camps that have been hit all week, look, the American audience thinks tent camps, thinks kind of recent refugees, and I think it's really important. And in this map behind me, you can see there are 8 different refugee camps in the Gaza Strip. Now, most of these created in 1948, 1949, maybe the early 50s by the UN to house Palestinian refugees right after Israel's War of Independence in 1948, who were expelled from their homes in southern and central Palestine. So these are people, to understand, these are generations of people, Anna, who have lived there, and there's a lot of reticence in these populations, for example, to evacuate these homes. The other thing that's really important to understand about these camps is how tightly packed they are. They are not tent cities. These are apartment buildings. There are schools and shops. These are full towns. Now, just to give you a sense of the population, 2.1, we know we've been talking about that population for the last couple of weeks, of course. Very densely populated. The entire strip is very densely populated. But that 1.7 number is the actual number registered with UNRWA, refugees who actually live in camps, 620,000. And that should give you a sense of just how tightly packed some of these camps are. Specifically talking about Jabalia. It's the largest refugee camp, as you can see. That was hit multiple times this week, Anna. We've been talking about that. 116,000 refugees, 26 schools, for example, just to give you a sense of how large a percentage of a population are kids who live in those. Very tightly packed again, and you can see these pictures that you're showing on the screen right now of that huge crater in Jabalia. Maghazi is another one of these smaller refugee camps that was hit earlier this week, and Brej, another one of these refugee camps that was hit, one of the smaller ones. One of the most interesting things about Brej, 12 schools, but when we talk about the population that lives there, 6 of those schools, Anna, run on double shifts. So we have been talking about the high population of children across the Gaza Strip, but that is just a very small population of how we can understand how many kids actually live, how many civilians are actually packed into these small areas. In Brej, for example, Anna, even before this, 90% of the water was not drinkable. And we've walked through those photos already of Jabalia, of Brej. I think the other really important thing that our audience should keep in mind, we are actually seeing kind of tent camps pop up in southern Gaza, in Khan Yunis. And those are not refugee camps. Those are IDP camps. Those are to house, of course, the Palestinians who are fleeing northern Gaza to the safety, or the relative safety, they hope, of southern Gaza.